Hello, everyone. A very warm welcome to this session of our Older Youth Group webinar. It's live for you on a Saturday afternoon, just making sure that our community is empowered, our future generation is informed. And how to do that? A little conversation, a webinar, talking amongst each other and knowing our youth a little better. This is how Let Us Talk It thinks and works, not only thinks, but does work in various ways, having professional webinars every Wednesday from 12 p.m. EST, bringing in professional speakers, talking about various subjects, technology, motivational, inspirational, health, everything that you can think of. We would definitely welcome more speakers, mentors into the Let Us Talk It platform. Our simple motive to make an informed and empowered community. And doing so, we have come across different areas in youth, in their what's going in their mind. Many youth have opened up. They were shy, they were not so open, and we see real transformation here. And if you want to join this group, please email us at webinar@letustalkit.com, or you can even register your kids by going to our website, letustalkit.com/youth, and register your kids with their names, pictures, and all of the information, and we'll contact you. And all of those who have taken out the time to join, we welcome you. And today's topic, the youth that decided on, was the evolution of technology. So technological evolution is a theory of radical transformation of society through technological development. And they have some weird ideas, some creative ideas, some great ideas, I would say, of how this transformation happened. And if you are interested, please do join in the Zoom link that you see somewhere in your YouTube description, so that you can also join these panelists and talk with them in our interaction session. And we are extremely happy that we have a new moderator today, Vivan. And he will be moderating for the first time. Happens to be a very shy kid, not so open, but as soon as the opportunity was given, he was very happy. He took it, and just like his brother did it last week, he's also, we look forward to him doing it on a wonderful job. And it's also his birthday, his and his brother's birthday. So we wish you a very happy birthday, Vivan and Virat, from our Let Us Talk It family. Over to you, Vivan.
Yes, thank you, Jilamanti. This week's webinar topic is the evolution of technology. When did the appliances we use today start to grow? We'll begin with the introduction, as I am doing now. Then we will move to the About Us page. Then we'll move on to our informational slides, then the Q&A interaction session. First, let's meet our panelists. Hello, my name is Vivan, as introduced, and things I like to do are reading, writing, running, playing outside, playing with the Arduino, and things like that. Oral?
Hi, my name is Aral. I'm a 6th grader in Michigan, and some things I like to do is reading and painting.
Mahadi? Okay, fine. Mukta?
Hi everyone, my name is Mukta and I'm 17 years old. In this week's webinar, some of my hobbies include dancing and reading, and I hope you like my presentation.
Okay, I think you're referring to the video, but okay. Hannah?
Okay. Hi, my name is Ahana Rincorn. I'm from Michigan. I'm a 5th grader. And some things I like to do are I like to do arts and crafts, and I really like to do digital drawings. And today I'll be talking about the evolution of phones.
Yeah, great. Now, Virat?
Wish is actually before me, so exit the slide and come back in.
No. I'm pretty sure Wish is not on the call.
I'm here.
No, Vish
oh.
join. Yeah.
Oh, okay. You can introduce yourself, Wish.
Okay.
Could you go
Hi,
to the
my
next
name
slide?
is Vish. I'm a new panelist, and I'll be talking about the evolution of cars.
Yeah. Okay.
My name is Virat, and I really like Arduino, and it is a microcontroller, a type of processor, and I'll lead you a hint of what.
Virat, can you be a little louder? We can't hear you.
Oh, you can't? Wait, can you hear me?
Yeah, just be a little louder.
Really?
Okay. My name is Virat, and I really like playing with the science and experimenting, and I also like Arduino, and I'll give a clue to what I'm going to be talking as my topic. Yeah, sorry, okay. Okay, Wish, you just introduce yourself. Okay, so I know this isn't like somebody else's quote, but I'm just saying, like, technology is always changing. The one who knows the latest is at the top. Meaning that if you are at the top, you know all the new technologies and you're up to date, then you're at the top. You know what you're doing. And you always have the best technology to improve efficiency. So I think that's a great starter. First is on my side, I'm going to be talking about medicinal technologies. So, do you guys know the world's leading cause of death? Well, you might think it's the coronavirus or even the stroke, but facts, it's heart disease. Stroke is also next, but stroke is also a cardiovascular disease, just clotting in the head. So, now we'll be talking about cardiac surgery in the 1850s to the 1950s. The first heart surgery, and it was also the first open heart surgery, was performed by Daniel Hale Williams in 1893. In 1910, the idea of bypass surgery was given by Alexis Carrel on a letter to the American Surgical Association. In 1938, the modern era of cardiac surgery begins. Dr. Robert Gross performed surgery on a pulmonary artery in a girl's throat. And this surgery was one of a kind. That's why it went into the news, and doctors all over the world got the commotion. This started the modern era of cardiac surgery. Why is it the modern era? It's because people before didn't actually focus on cardiac surgery or neurology or things like that. But those complex medical technologies, they're actually coming into reality, and we can save more lives. Heart attack and brain disease are high and that cause deaths. So the modern era to start, it's a great thing. Then World War II leaps modern medicine. Extra pressure on doctor skill sets in war causes knowledge expansion. All these soldiers are dying in World War II, so doctors need the ways to help them, to heal them, and things like that. And the mortality rate for surgeries was 20% in the 1950s to the 2000s. In 1950, they created the patient relief method. It was early anesthetic. Dr. Bill Bigelow was experimenting on lowering the patient's temperature so the patient doesn't die of blood loss. So it is basic anesthesia. A normal surgeon would only be lucky to have 4 minutes to operate, but now they have 10 minutes of surgery. Then in 1950 to the 1957, the heart-lung machine was made. Doctors rushed to build a machine that does vital functions for the body for the patient, so surgeons have unlimited time to operate. Now, this isn't like anesthesia, but the patient has unlimited time, they wouldn't die because the machine is pumping blood for them and giving oxygen for them. Then, in 1967, the first transplant and cardiac surgery happened. Christian Barnard took the heart of a dead woman with a healthy heart and replaced a 55-year-old man's heart, which was not functioning well. And in 1998, the first artificial heart was made by Michael DeBiggy. Those surgeries now were leaped. 50% mortality rate increase, now it's 70%. Now, cardiac surgery in the 2000s and beyond. In 2000, the Da Vinci surgical robot was created by Intuitive Surgical. In 2001, the artificial hearts were put to use, and it was in the medical center in California. Of course, this isn't the same hearts that Michael DeBakey made. They're just like improved versions. Then in 2019, an Israel researching team 3D printed a live heart, chemically and immunologically identical to any heart. And if you neutralize the heart, there'll be almost no chance of rejection. It would work exactly like a heart. It's not just artificial, it's real. Then the mortality rate for surgeries today is 98 to 99%. You can confirm that you'd almost never die of surgery these days. There's some models for the artificial heart, and yeah. Well, what technologies would you find in the future for medicine? Well, you would find like biodegradable things, special drugs, and like artificial limbs, artificial organs, artificial blood vessels, in fact, and even like artificial muscles, like artificial tissues, or just 3D printed. Like you can imagine 3D printing a whole human. That's how complicated technology could become in the future. So that's pretty much the end of mine. Let's move on to phones by Ahana.
Thank you, Yvonne. Hi, everyone. As I said before, I'll be talking about the evolution of phones. Does anyone here want me to tell you how phones are useful to us? I'm sure the answer will be no, because we use phones for almost everything, and you know it. Each time and every time, the phone evolution takes us to the next level. The phone might be invented for a purpose to connect people and communicate with each other. But now in everyday lives, once we wake up, we start seeing the time. We use it for personal connections, official businesses, shopping, and everything we can do. Everything can be done by installing and using multiple apps. So let's see when the phone was invented and who invented the phone. Can you go to the next slide? Can you go to the next slide, please? Alexander Bell is the inventor of the telephone. He invented many things, including the telephone. The other things he invented are the metal detector and also a photophone. How did he make it? Alexander Graham Bell's original telephone was patented in 1876. It also worked on converting sound into electrical signals, and that also meant that it was a liquid transmitter. This process centered around the directing sound through the receiver onto a thin membrane stretched over the drum. On the outside of the membrane cork, with the needle attached to a battery extended to the cup filled with superiodical acid and metal contact. When sound waves hit the membrane, causing vibrations, varying the strength of the current passing between the needle and the contact. Can you go to the next slide? It's not my slide. The one, yeah, that one. Actually, no, past that one. Yeah. Now I'll be telling you about the different types of phones and how they've changed over the years. In the 1930s, famed industry designer Henry Dearfuss created what many consider the first modern telephone, the Model 302. This design signaled the departure from the early models. The ringer on the phone, instead of a separate COM point, the candle lies horizontally and you would speak and listen from the same piece resting on the top. After the Model 302, AT&T realized that they could sell these phones to the masses. The phone, traditionally square base was replaced with a similar design with the touchpad, called the trim line, the first product by a company in the 1965s. And they added buttons like the star and the hashtag were added too. As the 1960s went on, phones got even smaller. The Gorilla Cricket could fold up, setting it apart from other phones at the time. The clamshell-shaped influenced design for modern flip phones. Up until the 1977, AT&T had a monopoly on phone design in the US. But that year, the Supreme Court lifted restrictions that once prevented people from buying and designing their own phones. This decision, along with AT&T's divestiture from Bell's company, resulting in all kinds of creative phone designs, including the 80s BCom one below. Phones started shrinking even more in the early 1900s. You could charge the 1994 Tasman phone on the base that came with. 2 years later, Motorola launched the StarTAC, a small gray flip phone with a display of a screen and oval keys. Next came the iPhone, which distributed in 2007, transforming the phone by turning into a tiny mobile computer, though other touchscreen phones had come before it. The iPhone's sleek interfere revolutionized the mobile phone's design. Current iPhone models have major improvements to the first model, from sporting 3 high-quality cameras to rendering display at A13 bonnet clips that allows it for faster processing. I think it's really breathtaking to learn all about the phone's evolution. We are sure that's not going to be the end. There's still so much we can expect from technology and intelligence. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
You're muted.
So I never knew that phones actually evolved this way. It is very interesting. And plus, phones became wireless. So I was thinking, how did they even manage to send those signals? So that's very cool that you talk about that. Okay, who's next? Oh no. Wish, your slide is coming next. Wait, is this one of your slides, Hannah?
Yeah, it was. I think I already talked about it.
Okay. So, go on, Wish.
Hello. Like I said earlier, I'll be talking about the evolution of cars. The earliest type of car was the Benz patent motor car, which looked like a carriage with pistons and oil tanks. Cars nowadays are electric, petrol, and hybrid, which are both petrol and electric. A new type of car people are trying out is a generation of cars which can be controlled by phones or set to a daily drive command. They are being built for people who can't drive or have disabilities, but they might as well be what everyone will start using. Future cars might as well not be flying cars. Flying cars crashing would be. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it was cool that the first cars were very simple, like they look like carriages, and then the newest cars looked pretty cool, and they use some new technologies. So, Mukta?
Okay, hi everyone. Unfortunately, my sister could not make it to the webinar today, so I'll be taking over her slides. We're going to start off with a quick quote by George Jelinek, which is, "The history of things are found in its songs." So, Vivan, you can move on to the next slide. Okay. So the first music we're going to be talking about is medieval music. So medieval music encompasses the music of the Western Europe during the Middle Ages, from approximately the 6th to 15th century. It is the first and longest era of classical music and is followed by the Renaissance music. It included sacred music, and it was used for church and also non-religious music. It is Renaissance music, as I've mentioned above, is another early music genre and consisted of instruments such as the violin, lute, and keyboard instruments. We next go into the classical music, which started in the 1750s, revolving around instruments such as piano, violins, and flutes. After that, we have more romantic music, which is close to opera music, but replicates people's voices on instruments. Music has since evolved immensely, and in the 20th century, music centers around the jazz genre. And now, in our 2021 and 21st century, we have pop, hip hop, rap, and much more. On the next slide, I will be talking about the stereophonic sounds. So you can, okay. So stereophonic sounds are basically known as the signs of speakers. These originated in the 1970s and have since advanced immensely. As you can see from the pictures, speakers use two different functioning audio channels and combine it into one, which is how it makes one complete sound. In my last slide, we will take a deeper dive into some of these music technologies. So you can move on. Okay, in the 1800s, the first music system was a graphophone. As you can see in the picture, you can use the system to record previous sounds, but it does not play music. The rest of the technologies in the 1800s include gramophones and music boxes. In the 1900s, we have radios, dance organs, and steam calabases. And something that I'm sure we have all heard of is jukeboxes. Jukeboxes work by someone putting a coin in the slot and choosing from an array of letters and numbers to play a certain record or compact disc. The other music technologies that were quite popular in the 1900s were transistor radios, Walkmans, which I'm pretty sure a lot of the millennials listening have, and boomboxes. Now in the 2000s, we have MP3 players, wireless listening, and music streaming. For example, I have AirPods, which are connected to your phone through Bluetooth, and you can easily listen to anything you play on your phone. Funny how convenient listening to music has gotten. I hope you enjoyed this short presentation. Thank you for listening.
Hi, my name is Arel, and today I will be talking about technology in the entertainment industry. First off, what is entertainment? Entertainment is a form of activity that holds the attention and interest of an audience or gives pleasure and delight. It can be an idea or a task, but is more likely to be one of convenience, like watching TV rather than cooking. For instance, watching a video or listening to music might be entertaining to some people, while others like to exercise or cook for entertainment. Because of this, the entertainment industry is huge, but today I will be talking about how different types of technology that entertain us daily has evolved from when it was invented. I'll be covering all the electronics most used for entertainment, focusing on televisions and computers mostly. I will also talk about two types of popular entertainment, music and radio. I didn't include video because that goes in depth about the technology of the camera, which doesn't really entail entertainment unless you like photography. So without further ado, let's jump into the electronic side of the entertainment industry. Next slide. So, next slide. So for each product, television, computer, and phone, I will be answering some questions from the past to the present, which are on the slide. First, let's go over the start of television. The television started when 21-year-old Philo Taylor Farnsworth made the first electric television work. This paved a start to the history of television. At the time, radio was popular, but by 1955, half of all U.S. homes had one. Television was going strong and had a lot of power. People also began to receive news quicker thanks to this new invention. For example, when John F. Kennedy's assassination was announced on TV, people watched it not as crowds in the streets, but from their own living rooms. They also got the news a lot faster. Around 30 years, if this had happened, people would have known about it a week from then, but they knew about it after 3 days. The people behind the popular networks like CBC, NBC, and ABC had lots of power back then. From there, people went on to have public television networks like the News Daily, cable, and even VCRs, which are video cassette recorders. Cut to now, where people have televisions all over the world with high-quality movies and gadgets, Wi-Fi, and more. There is no denying that television is a major part of our lives, showing us the average watching time is 2.5 hours per day for the average person. Today, companies like Sony, Verizon, and BBC all dominate television, but for different reasons, like selling the actual TVs themselves, providing Wi-Fi, and the actual news and programs that you see on television. Television has truly changed the way the world works, but it has a rival, computers. I'm also including phones in this category because Ahana talked about that already. Computers started being first used for entertainment in the 1950s and 60s. There were computers before this, going as far back as the 1900s, but they were used for purposes like math, calculating, and programs. The computers were used for things like tic-tac-toe and chess. They had pretty bad graphics, though, and weren't that small. They were huge, big and bulky, and almost took up a room. However, as time went by, they grew smaller, faster, and lighter. It had a huge impact on the world then, and its importance has only grown. Computers now can do things beyond most people in the blink of an eye. From people like Charles Thacker to Steve Jobs to companies like Microsoft and Apple, computers will never stop being important to society. Now that we've covered computers, let's move on to a few forms of entertainment, namely music and radio. Next slide. From singers like Elvis Presley to Ariana Grande, music has changed a lot over the years. When music started to gain momentum around the 1950s to 60s, as I'm talking about more modern music today, it influenced people to start making more music on their own. Producers and record companies started to crop up, and people started to sing what is now more modern music. From traditional to anything it wanted to be, music has changed to be more influential since the 2000s. Music also affects the world in a huge way. Other than music stimulating your mind, making you focus, and basically being amazing, it also provides employment for millions of people, lets you dance and exercise, and is also easily accessible with apps on your phone like Pandora. You can also listen to lots of different kinds of music on a radio, which is what I'm talking about next. The radio was invented before televisions, computers, and phones. It's like the OG of the entertainment industry. When radio started in 1886, it wasn't for entertainment purposes. Although the first practical radio transmitters and receivers, what you use on your phone to talk to other people all over the world, were developed in 1895 and 1896. Radio began to be used commercially around 1900. Soon after this, it started being used to play music and the news, which led into a huge industry, kind of like a sub-industry, in fact, because there are so many different types of radio, like AM, FM radio, which is mostly played in cars, satellite radio, radar, and even the call app on your phone. Radio today is mostly played in cars, as said before, or around the house, but it is still a big part of our lives. So from radio in 1886 to radio now, it still hasn't stopped being a big part of the entertainment industry, and I don't think it will.
So, are you done? Oh,
Yeah, I'm done. You can go to the next slide.
so yeah, I never knew the entertainment industry was so big, and it actually relates to a lot of other technologies we're talking in the webinar. So let's move on.
Hello, everybody. Like I said, my name is Farad, and I told you that I liked Arduino, and it will give you a little bit of a hint on what my topic was. Well, if you click again, you'll see my topic is processors. There are a lot of types, and I mean not just some, but lots and lots of types. But just because of time, I'm not going to cover all of them, and even the list I have is pretty big. There are 9. So, the first one, which you can click again. We first start with the classic CPU, the central processing unit. Almost everyone knows this. This processor is one of the most simplest and most known of them all. The CPU works in the heart of computers and runs the OS for you and takes care of almost every single part of your computer. It's an amazing microchip and an amazing processor for your computer, and it's actually needed to run the computer. Next, we have the MCU, microcontroller unit. Microcontroller unit by itself, it isn't that powerful, but it's not that powerful by itself, but it has the really good potential of putting all these processors together and making them work together to achieve big things. Like you might want to use an MCU inside of like a computer where there are a lot of these components that I mentioned. Well, that I will mention, like maybe a GPU and a CPU together to create a fully functional computer. Definitely. Next, we have the MPU. You can click again. Now we have the microprocessing unit. The microprocessing unit. This is a very small one. It's meant for small scale computing, and on many small scale computers and IO based computers like the Raspberry Pi, you'll find it, and it's called the Cortex. No, don't get me wrong that I'm saying that the Raspberry Pi doesn't have a CPU. It has an MPU on board, the Cortex. The NPU is basically like the CPU, smaller and takes less energy, and doesn't have that much computing power. Basically a mini version of the CPU. On to the next one. We have the GPU. Of course, everyone knows this guy. The GPU, Graphics Controller Unit. When you're playing in 3D games, then he helps you out assist with the 3D computations that CPU can't handle, or it's just that GPU is really good at doing them. The GPU is good at doing short-term, big computing tasks, but the CPU is good at long-term, normal computing needs. So that's basically what a GPU is, a graphical controller unit. On to the next one. We have the DPU, the data processing unit. The data processing unit, you might be saying, what is this? This isn't like a controller. Actually, it is a processor. This processor doesn't really process much information. It's like the MCU, but except it's really good at controlling data and all kinds of things. Like it already has few algorithms on how to like let's say take an image and put it in. And your DPU will be at hard work when you're in File Explorer. You'll be looking around all your hard drive and files, looking around for what you should do. Basically, it's meant for showing data and explaining data and processing data inside the computer. On to the next one, which we have QPU. Next one. Okay, there we go. The QPU is the quantum processing unit. The quantum processing unit, as you can tell, is inside of a quantum computer. Now that we're here, we enter the stage where processors get a little advanced, and they're meant for companies which need really large computing needs, or it's just that it's not really commercial and you wouldn't find it in normal commercial devices. Yes, there is the APU, the accelerated processing unit, but that's next. The QPU is really good at handling tasks and doing computations, but one thing it fails at is its error margin. Its error margin is really high, and that creates a lot of error inside of the calculations. The slightest of changes, like let's say the earth moved a little bit, or someone touched the outer casing, or just some rapid air, or the coolers went a little overload. Even the smallest of changes in a very big radius happen, and it's going to disturb the calculations. And so they need to be in a very, very secure place, so nothing is going to disturb the quantum processing unit. It is a disadvantage, but later on we'll find ways to make the quantum computer more portable and better. Next, we have the accelerated processing unit. The accelerated processing unit is the mix of a CPU and a GPU. It's meant for long-term tasks which need a lot of computational needs. So it's a combination of CPU and GPU, and it's meant for just doing really powerful things in general. The APU itself cannot handle a computer. You do need also a CPU and a GPU, but it's just meant for if you were to be running a simulation, which is really hard to compute, but you are going to run it for a long time. Next, we have the we have the neural processing unit. The neural processing unit is the NPU, and the neural processing unit is meant for computers running AI. And Google has messed with these processors before, and they are working on making neural processing units way better. Neural processing units already come with few AIs, but they're especially meant for running AI simulations and just for running AI in general. They're really good at handling simulations. So it's basically for running AI, like it suggests, neural processing unit. I won't go too deep into this, but AI do have of neural networks inside of them which generate what to do, basically logic gates. Next, we have the VPU, Vision Processing Unit. This is basically the concept of computer vision. Computer vision is there so that computers can see, and it has few drivers already which can control visual things like cameras. You might be thinking, why would we need a VPU if a normal CPU or GPU or even an APU can handle a camera? I'm not talking about one camera. We're talking at least 10 cameras. The VPU is so powerful on vision that it can handle 10 cameras at the same time running object detection. Like, imagine that. Imagine and you had 10 eyes and your brain was constantly calculating what was there in every single eye. So that's a lot of hard work that the VPU does. It's basically for computer vision. On to the next slide. History. Now, I talked about all the different types of processors. Now I'll talk about the parts of processors, ones which were included inside of them, like logic gates. Logic gates are the fundamental things of processors and they're really important. Could you imagine the world without them? I bet you're not getting what it is. Well, logic gates are basically and, or, and not, and a few others. You might be thinking, how does your computer run and how can we just even do computing with just those? Well, there are actually millions, billions, maybe even trillions of them in one computer. Well, sure, not all are being used, and your computer when you're coding are turned in. There are virtual logic gates, so that you don't have to actually mess with the hardware. Yeah, so logic gates are basically and or a not, and they were made mechanically in 1837, and they are gonna basically help us see the logic, and they're the basic fundamentals of any computer. The first computer was the analytical engine by Charles Babbage, and it was an electromechanical punch card reliant computer called the analytical engine. It can do problems. It does take a long time, over a few hours just to do a simple operation, but over time, these computers got faster and faster. Next, we have coding. Coding, the first type of coding was punch cards for the electromechanical punch card reliant analytical engine, and this was basically programming in the old ages. Next, we have the shift register. The first shift register was the Mark II Colossus in 1944. It was a code breaker. In World War I and World War II, security and privacy in the military, it was a really big thing. And if we didn't have security, then there's no way that anybody would have won the war. The Germans and the USA would be constantly knowing each other's signals and constantly attacking each other. There would be no privacy. So that was really worked on in the World War I and II. So the Mark II Colossus was meant to break these codes. Next, we had transistors. Transistors are really important, and just like logic gates, there are millions and millions of them out of a single chip. These transistors are basically switches which will turn stuff on and off, and transistors were later changed and altered a little bit to create electrical logic gates. And finally, microchips. The first microchips to be made, or processors, were in 1959. They were meant for smaller computer sizes. And the first commercial one was the Intel 4004. So, on to the next slide. We have applications. Now, we leave history and now we enter the modern era. Now, first we have computing. What was the need of computing back then? Well, it was military use because, as I told you, privacy was a big thing, and you need a lot of computational resources. If you're going to be flying a plane or a bomb to a specific trajectory, you need to calculate out some basic functions and graphs. So it was meant for military use then. Now it's used for simulations. Simulations meant for just simulating things, and functionality back then they had no functionality, but now we have GPS, we have the accelerometer, and all kinds of things inside them. Like I told you about the VPU, visual processing unit. Some may also already have a camera on board or something like that. Processors have functionalities like a location microchip might have the GPS and the accelerometer at the same time, and even a compass to know where to head, basically where you are. And what was it like before microprocessors, and now how's it after? Before, there wasn't much about computing, but there were computers without the need of microprocessors called registry chip computers. They were reliant on full registry chips, and they were just working and working. They weren't that fast, but they were written in BASIC. BASIC can do basic arithmetic, and it's a pretty cool computer to look at, but you can't do much on it. And now how is it after? The latest technologies we have now is quantum computers. The QPU helps us a lot in simulating things, and one thing that quantum computers can help us with is COVID. We can use quantum computers to simulate the chemical interaction between our body and COVID, and basically all that's going on, and we can create a chemical substance which will either eradicate the COVID, or we can see how to create a vaccine for it. That was all for my slide.
Okay, thank you, Vivon. As you have already seen from Yvonne's presentation, medical technology has evolved immensely. I will be taking a slightly different route and talking about 4 particularly significant medical technologies: ECGs, kidney transplant, CAT scans, and cloning. To start off, ECGs first came about in around 1887, but didn't develop completely until 1913. Also known as electrocardiograms, it is a machine used to see your heart's rhythm, checking for any abnormalities and diseases. The one in the picture shown is a much outdated version of what we use now. Now medical professions can track it on computers. ECGs have helped thousands of lives from diseases and heart attacks. The next technology I would like to talk about is kidney transplants. The first kidney transplant came about in 1954 when Ronald Herrick had chronic kidney failure. His twin brother was willing to donate and Ronald was saved. Back then, for transplants, they had to directly put in the organ and didn't have an injection system or a safe way to put the transplant in. But in 1983, the first injection to suppress the immune system came out to make it safer for patients and the donors. Now we can also match up people's organs using computers. My next technology is a CAT scan, which I'm assuming most of you have heard of. CAT scans are scans that are used to detect internal fractures, tumors, and other abnormalities in the body. They're mostly used to look into the brain for your brain structure and so on. They have advanced at a rapid pace since 1975. As you can see from the 2 pictures, you can tell that the machinery and coding have far changed. My last technology includes cloning, which is a much more recent technology founded in around 1996. In 1996, veterinarians decided to see if they could clone two of the same species of sheep from another adult body cell, and that's exactly what they did. They took an adult Finn Dorset sheep's adult cell using the process of nuclear transfer, and the new sheep was born and named Dolly after Dolly Parton. The sheep died in 2003, but proved to doctors and veterinarians across the globe that they might be able to clone not only wild species once, but even us humans. There have been multiple controversies surrounding this topic in regards to ethics, but scientists are saying that it might be available in the near future. The first human clone took place in 2002, and there were 14 successful clones made, but then they had to be stopped due to ethical reasons. What do you think? Do you think humans should be cloned? If so, why? Or are you agreeing that it's not ethically right? Well, either way, I hope you liked hearing about these eye-opening medical technologies and how they have evolved over the years. Thank you.
Yeah, it was great, and found it really interesting that people found it unethical to clone human. I mean, how cool would it be if I had my own clone which could do work for me? Okay, Q&A session. So some questions we have for the Q&A session prepared for what of these technologies have grown the most?
No, just a second, Vivan, if you could just we have some guests here today. So if we can have their opinion as well about the evolution of technology. So I think we have Arush here. Arush, would you like to share? And then you can move on to interaction session.
Yeah, go on, Arush.
So can I talk about like anything? Like what am I
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to be talking about the evolution of technology. So I'm going to be telling you what evolution means. Evolution means the development of something. And I'm going to be talking about the phone. So the old phone used to be really heavy, and you only used to take 30 or I think 30 minutes to like run out of charge. That's what I learned. I'm not exactly sure, but I think that's what they said. And I learned that it used to take 10 hours for them to charge. And you couldn't have any apps on them. But the new modern phone you can have a lot of apps, and the battery life is like a long time, like 10 hours or maybe sometimes 5 hours. And now it only takes like 10 minutes for some phones to charge, and the old phones only took 10 hours. That's all. Thank you for giving me a chance to talk.
Okay, Arush. Is there anyone else?
Yeah, thank you, Arush, for putting in that information. And that's nice to know. And if you want to join, as you know, you can ask your parents to register you going to our website, LetUsTalkIt/youth. And yeah, you can join as a panelist from next week coming to the prep sessions. Yeah, and then I see Pranav here and Akshay. You can take turns and put your views as well. If not, Vivan, you can continue with the question answer. And Arush, you can even, if you want to add in the question answer session, you can do that as well.
Okay. If the guests or guest speakers do not have any questions, we will move on to a Q&A session. Some questions we have are, what technology has grown the most since it was made? So, what about this?
I think the
Yeah.
because without the processors, none of this would exist.
Yeah, like before they only had simple like switches and lights, but now we have like literal computers where we can talk digitally. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Virat and Vivan. Like computers and coding and all of this have definitely evolved a lot, or else we wouldn't have like the certain technologies that we talked about, like, MP3 players, they start from computers, and like some medical technologies, they started from computers. So yeah.
Okay. Which technology has the most impact on society? I think I think computers again for this one, because people use computers every day and it impacts their lives.
I think it's the entertainment industry.
I think it's like for phones. I vote for phones because you can actually like people actually just do everything on them.
But again, phones come from computers or technology like screens.
Yeah, I agree with Vivon. It's just like computers again. Like and also the entertainment industry, we pay attention so much to that too, like watching movies and like listening to music and all of it. Like that's what we use a lot of our technologies for. So yeah.
Yeah,
People use, I guess, phones for everything. Use calculators to check the time. We have apps and we can play video games. So that's kind of a lot.
yeah. So, which technology has grown the least since it was made?
Sorry.
Oh, that's fine. So, which technology has grown the least since it has been made?
Would it be cars?
I guess, yeah, they didn't actually change much. They never actually changed in size. They were always the the size of a small mattress. So, and plus the technology was always pretty much the same too. They're just burning fuel. But now electric cars are coming, so yeah. Does anybody else have an opinion?
Srinyanko put something in the chat. I'll go check it out.
Does anybody else have an opinion on the technology that changed least since it was made?
I think they all have had an impact, especially on our like minds and the way our brain works. Because a lot of us are like so addicted to technologies now, and like that can literally change your brain structure and everything. But I think Shrini Uncle said like, what do you think is the technology behind the functionality of a human body? I mean, that's just like our head, our mind, our brain. But I'm not sure. Like, that's just
It's true. I mean, like people who are on TVs or screens too long, they get brain cancer and some other diseases.
No, you can't actually get cancer from watching TV. That might be some sort of myth or something, but you can't actually get cancer by watching TV.
Too long, like more than 2 hours. Then
No.
No, it would just make you lose your vision.
I don't really believe that's true.
Yeah, then you wouldn't be able to see it. So yeah, I don't think you can get brain cancer from TV.
yeah, you can't.
Okay, which technology will lose interest of the public? Well, it doesn't really have to be the technologies we thought today. So let's think of things that'll probably lose. Radios, like said, I know that they might stay for longer, but we're gonna change things up. We're not gonna have radios forever. We already have phones, and phones have almost completely replaced radios. So,
I think gas fueled cars. Like I feel like a lot of people are now switching to electric cars. So I think that will change in the near future.
Well, gas,
Yeah.
electric and hybrid cars are pretty costly, so
Oh, Chaitanya has a question. Which technology will transform intercontinental travel? So if you have seen Elon Musk, they were talking about the big Falcon rocket, which is like a rocket which goes super fast. You can go from London to Los Angeles in like 3 hours, while a plane would take normally like 2 days to do that. Does anybody else have an opinion? Or can you talk about it yourself, Chaitanya? If you want to unmute.
Oh, I didn't put any question.
Oh. In the chat it says that you did. Okay. Oh, there are two Chaitanyas. Then who's the second?
It's because of accounts. It's just
Oh, okay. Yeah, whoever the second person is, you can unmute.
thank you.
Okay, so if we have if you don't have any other questions, I think that would be it for this week's webinar. Wait, did somebody post a question? Can you imagine life without technology? I guess. Like the old ages, they didn't have technology. They used to live in caves and light fires.
I think that is a great question for a future topic in Let Us Talk It. What would you do without technology? I mean, all the buzz about technology and everything, even like after brushing, and if you did not have that laptop, what would you do,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah, like very true. Very, very true.
Sleeping and the basic necessity that you have, and then just and why can't we experiment it for one day, no technology whatsoever, and let's see and give our practical feedback.
Yeah.
What say others?
Yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah, so did we take all the questions?
Technology detox.
Technology detox, yes. Srini has a terminology for it as well. And I think that's an excellent topic. And I want to digital detox, yes. And one day, we all without technology. And the thing is that each other should have each other's phone first and the laptops, that no barging into, sneaking into just to check that one mail, and one time only, no one time also.
Yeah.
Okay, raise your hand if you can do that for one day.
Yeah, I think I could. It's just
So
like
we have to do it on a holiday, because then you don't have school, you cannot touch anything.
And it depends if it's on Saturday, because then we have this
Webinar. Good one. Who said that?
Chaitanya.
Chaitanya.
Chaitanya, okay. So Srini, what about a Sunday? And that could be tomorrow.
And I cannot do on Sunday because I have another meeting.
Like this, everybody will have something or the other. So yeah. So most interestingly, we will be discussing about our next week's topic right now. Those who are joined in on Facebook or YouTube, please do join the Zoom link and we can discuss and have a fun session deciding on the topic for next week. And yes, this is how we go. It's very informal. Everybody can pitch in and have their opinion, have their crazy idea, great idea, not so good idea, witted idea, dim-witted idea. Anything and everything is welcomed, and we do not judge. So this is our platform. Let us talk it up. Let us talk it is all about. So we would love to hear from you. Please email us at webinar@letustalkit.com, or you can join by going to our website and registering your kids under the youth enrollment section. So yeah, any other question, comments, feedback here? If not, then we'll be looking forward for our next coming week's youth webinar. We will be having a Zipinar on Wednesday, that's professional webinar. And then we have a younger youth group webinar on Friday at 8:30 p.m. EST. And their topic is their favorite movies and series. And on Saturday, the topic we will discuss right now after we go off the live session. Okay, so thank you everyone for joining in and wish you a wonderful weekend ahead. Bye-bye.
Have a great weekend. Thanks for coming.
You can stay back.
Yeah, I will.